Coming into number 10, we have the legend of the black-eyed children. Forget the black-eyed peas, meet the black-eyed children. I've said it before, I'll say it again, children ghosts creep me out. They're the worst kinds of ghosts. Kids are creepy, end of really, but kid ghosts, Apparently there are some kind of creepy black-eyed children stalking the streets of Abilene in Texas. The story comes from a local journalist, Brian Bethel, who said that in 1996 he was in the parking lot of a movie theater when he popped on his inner car light to write a check. 96 and checks. See, this wouldn't happen now. 2 words. E-transfer. Wait, is that 1 word? Either way, I absolutely knew that archaic banking was a road to evil. Back to the story. Noticing the light in his car, 2 kids came up to his window, which he rolled down to see what they wanted. Now the kids looked between 9 and 12 years old, and they asked him for a ride. He said they had a very uneasy feeling about them, and after a while he noticed that their eyes were totally black. He wound up his window and got the heck out of there, but his story was enough to go down in Abilene legend. Coming into number 9, we have the pizza delivery murderer. If your job is to deliver pizza in Houston, Texas, then I would say watch out. In the spring of 2019, a rumor was perpetuated that a serial killer and cannibal living in Houston, Texas was apprehended by local police. A Houston local claimed that they had seen a man covered in blood yielding a chainsaw. Classic horror movie tropes. The rumor seemed to be confirmed online when an article was published on news site World Daily Report that claimed a Houston resident had killed and eaten 23 pizza delivery men, plus 6 Jehovah's Witnesses and 2 postmen, and this was all in the past 7 years. The article read, Houston police have arrested a man believed to be behind the disappearance of no less than 31 persons in the past decade. Ivan Fedorovich Yanukovych, 56, could be linked to a number of mysterious disappearances in the area. On further research though, it seems that Snopes ran an article about this, claiming that the original source was a hoax and that the Houston Police Department executives apparently interviewed was actually a fake. Nonetheless, the pizza delivery killer legend goes on. Aren't hoaxes how urban legends start anyway? Coming into number 8, we have Iris the theatre ghost. I love a good theatre ghost. It seems that ghosts are especially prevalent in theatrical spaces. Maybe it's something to do with the heightened drama. Usually theatre ghosts are the spirits of actors who have died on stage, or perhaps been murdered in a historic brawl on the theatre steps. Or oftentimes it's an old theatre patron who absolutely just loved going to shows there, or perhaps even a caretaker. Either way, the ghost is usually from another era, something historic. Sadly, the ghost of Iris Sif is a relatively new addition to the Alley Theatre. Iris was the building's managing director who was strangled by security guard Clifford Phillips in 1982. It seems that the man had been fired for sleeping on the job, and actually he was put to death by lethal injection in 1993. Meanwhile, Iris the ghost is said to still haunt the theatre to this day. Coming into number 7, we have Arlington's Screaming Bridge / Hell's Gate. According to many Texans, going down the Arlington Screaming Bridge and listening out for the shrieks of the dead is some kind of local rite of passage. On a winter's night in 1961, a car full of 6 Arlington teenage girls fell off a burned out wooden bridge and onto the rail tracks next to a creek. This creek had a little bridge over it that's still there today. Now the driver didn't realize that the bridge was out, drove over it, crashed. 3 of the girls died as a result of the impact, 1 suffered a brain injury and 2 others were injured. Those responsible for burning the bridge were 4 boys who went to the same high school as the girls, resulting in a big local scandal and tragedy. The bridge over the creek still stands, and people refer to it as the Screaming Bridge in memory of the girls who died. The spot near the bridge may also be cursed. In 1994, 2 people were killed in a truck when the driver tried to outrace a train at the crossing. Curse or just idiocy? I don't know. Coming into number 6, we have the White Lady of Rio Frio. So the Frio River is a beautiful spot near Rio Frio in Texas. On a summer's day, you may see picnickers hanging out by the water enjoying the weather, but some say they've had a far spookier experience. Many people that visit the Frio River have reported a strange white mist hovering over the water. Some say it's a strange microclimate, but others cite the story of the Lady of Frio. The story goes that back in the 1900s, a young girl called Maria Juarez was the prettiest girl in the canyon. She was young and had an elder sister whom she loved deeply. Her sister had children with a man called Gregorio, who unfortunately cared more about Maria than a sister-in-law. Maria helped raise her sister's children and dreamed that someday she would meet someone, marry them, and have kids of her very own. She thought all of her dreams had come true when she met Anselmo, a dashing young man who seemed to return her affections. Sadly, this angered Gregorio, who told Maria that he loved her and wanted to be with her. When she rebuffed him because of her sister and Anselmo, he shot her through the heart by the lake. Now, her spirit is said to haunt the spot to this day. Adding a level of legitimacy to the story, there is an unmarked grave in a Frio cemetery said to belong to Maria, the White Lady who died an unmarried virgin. Coming into number 5, we have El Muerto. The El Muerto tale is truly terrifying. Back during the gold rush era, people thought that there was gold to be found in Texas. On top of that, the USA-Mexico border was hotly contested around this area, with an area of no man's land between the two countries. In this area, bandits were rife and Texas Rangers were around to keep them in check. One ranger, William Bigfoot Wallace, wanted to teach the bandits a lesson after one persistent criminal, known simply as Vidal, stole a bunch of Mustang horses. When he was in court, Bigfoot Wallace and his ranger friends chopped off Vidal's head, sat his body on a horse, attached his hands to the reins, and strung his head to the saddle. This was supposed to teach other would-be bandits a lesson not to mess with the Texas Rangers. Some poor sod then had to deal with finding the horse and its deceased cargo, which would be absolutely awful. Despite eventually being taken down from the horse, legend has it that Vidal rides on through the Rio Grande area today, and his ghost is dubbed as El Muerto. Coming into number 4, we have the dancing devil of El Cameroncito. A dancing Texas urban legend. I am so down for this. Apparently the dancing devil is local only to El Cameroncito, so ladies of other towns, no worries if a man is asking you to dance, you're probably safe. Ladies in Cameroncito though, watch out. So basically a legend has it that in the 1970s, a man in a dapper suit would ask beautiful ladies to dance with him. While they didn't find him beautiful, they felt compelled to dance. As he danced, women would be swept up. One day, a woman noticed the man she was dancing with had hooves for feet and that everyone near them was staring in horror. Realizing she was dancing with the devil, she ran away. The devil, however, remained. Now, I always keep my demons in my dancing shoes. Coming into number 3, we have Goatman. Goatman, 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 Goatman. Fun to say, fun to talk about. There are a couple of legends surrounding the Goatman of Old Alton Bridge in Denton County. The bridge is locally dubbed Goatman's Bridge, and some say that is because there is a goat-like demon that haunts the nearby forest. But others turn to a more elaborate tale of a local goat farmer. Oscar Washburn was a black goat farmer who was known for being an honest businessman, and he was a well-liked member of the community. Unfortunately, a successful black man caught the attention of the KKK, who was said to have abducted him in August 1938. Reportedly, they tied a noose around his neck and threw him over the Old Alton Bridge into the river below. When they went to bring up his body, they found that the noose was empty. Frustrated, the clan went to his house and slaughtered his wife and children. Washburn's body was never found, but a lot of paranormal enthusiasts will tell you that if you drive out over the bridge at night without your headlights on, the old goat man will be standing on the other side to greet you. Some also report being touched or grabbed by a spirit, and others say there are weird flashing lights in the nearby forest. Coming into number 2, we have the ghost of Fort Phantom Hill. Fort Phantom is one of the most well-preserved historic sites in Texas, with original architecture dating back to the mid-1850s. Fort Phantom was built as a safe stop for immigrants headed to the Californian gold fields. The story behind the name of Phantom Hill seems to be twofold. On the one hand, the fort is said to look really high up on a plateau from afar, but when you get close, it looks level, so it disappears like a phantom. The other story is that one night while a sentry was keeping watch, he fired on a Native American who was on the hill. When he went to go and investigate, he didn't find a body. When the team at the whole fort went out to look for a band of natives, they couldn't find any evidence of them ever being nearby. This ghost on the hill is said to re-emerge every now and then, confusing those who watch from the garrison. Finally, coming into number 1, we have one of the most well-known Texas urban legends ever. We have the Houston Batman. So first, I was like, Batman? Hell yes, get me there. But then I delved further into this legend and I realized that they don't mean like the superhero. No, no, no. The Houston Batman is also known as the Houston Horror and is a winged creature that has regularly been sighted in Houston, Texas. Now this creature is a bit like the Mothman of the Mothman prophecies, and I don't like like a big moth. The story of the winged menace dates back to 1953 when a woman and her neighbors were sitting on their porch in East 3rd Street, Houston. 23-year-old housewife Hilda Walker said she looked up over the lawn and saw the shadow of a huge moth. When she looked up, she saw something huge then fly into a pecan tree. Her and her neighbors thought that the monster was around 6.5 feet tall, although they weren't totally sure what they'd seen. 14-year-old Judy Mayer, who was also sat on the porch, screamed in fear as she got a square-on look at the monster. He was described as a man, but with wings, huge wings, and a weird, strange yellow haze around him. Mrs. Walker reported the incident to the police and spoke to local news outlets. The Batman/Mothman may have been spotted once again by Houston Bel Air theater workers in the 1990s, and the legend lives on today. Some suspect a government cover-up is at play, as vigilantes seeking the Batman discovered that some years after the initial incident, Mrs. Walker's neighborhood was raised to make way for a new part of the interstate. Alright, coming in at number 10 we have Lechuza. Ooh, I love a good owl, but this one is not your average mouse catcher. Lechuza is a shape-shifting witch who flies through the night hunting for prey. While in flight, she may look like an owl. When a Lechuza is stopped, they have bird bodies and human faces, so basically a lot like a harpy. The women seem to be hybrid monsters, as in their human lives they were said to have sold their soul to the devil, who gave them intense magical powers in exchange for their souls. How do you know you're in the presence of a Lechuza? Well, they'll let you know by a series of whistling and baby noises. Those who try and investigate what the noises are will likely become dinner for the owly she-witches. Not great. Coming in at number 9 we have the Candy Lady. Who loves candy? I love candy. Get me a dip and dab and a strawberry lace. Although we have to say the Candy Lady of Texas is enough to make me give up caramels for life, which is a shame because caramel's such a dream. So the Candy Lady is said to have been a woman called Clara Crane. She lived in Texas around the turn of the 20th century. She was said to have been married to an older man, and the pair had a child called Marcella. Sadly, Marcella was killed in a freak accident, and Clara blamed her husband and then went mad, reportedly killing him with poisoned caramel. She was then taken to North Texas Lunatic Asylum but released a few years later. This is when Candy started showing up on windowsills luring in kids. Later, a number of kids across the state went missing, and one farmer was said to have found rotten children's teeth in a caramel wrapper on his land. The urban legend goes that the Candy Lady will start by leaving a kid candy to win their trust. Then she'll abduct them and stab them with a fork. I shouldn't laugh, but forks are kind of like the comedy side of utensils, right? From Candy Lady to Donkey Lady at number 8. Donkey Lady, now I've heard it all. Apparently ye old Donkey Lady haunts a bridge over Elm Creek in San Antonio, Texas. The origin story of the ghost dates back almost 200 years to the mid-1800s. When settlers were living on the banks of Elm Creek, a husband and wife had a small wooden farmhouse and were making a living with a small number of livestock. One day, one of their donkeys or mules was grazing in the area when a young man from the town came across it. This man was not a nice man, but he was a wealthy man. He was the son of an important town leader. The young man teased the donkey and hit it with a stick, to which the donkey fairly responded by biting him. I'd bite someone if they hit me with a stick too. Retaliating, the man started heavily beating the donkey. Hearing their mule being attacked, the couple emerged and told the man to get away, throwing rocks at him for hurting their valuable animal. The man had a bit of Prince Joffrey entitlement moment, and he screamed that his father would hear about this, and to be honest, hear about it he did. He brought a bunch of friends to the farmhouse to torch the place. When the husband intervened, he was shot, as were his sons. The wife's dress caught fire and she helplessly watched her loved ones die. As she was engulfed in flames, she screamed running down the road. She began to burn as she threw herself into the creek. Her body was never found, but her wails are said to still be heard along the stretch of the road. If a car stops for too long, it is said that she appears screaming with her arms outstretched on the bridge. Some even report a body falling on the bonnet of the car, but when they stop, there's nothing there. Coming in at number 7, we have the legend of Midget Mansion. Not the most politically correct name, but it seems that Midget Mansion is the name this urban legend is best known by in San Antonio. It seems that the house in question is a mansion with low-hanging fixtures and ceilings custom built for a family of small people. A husband and a wife and their normal-sized children took up residency in this home. The father was said to be a respected businessman in the 1920s and was well liked in the community, who found him to be a novel addition. It seems sadly the man went mad one day and murdered his entire family. Well, with the murders and the odd size of the home, nobody really wanted to buy it, so it fell into disrepair. It seems that the ghostly sounds emanating from the building and strange shadows lurked for many years. A lot of people who went to the abandoned house felt a malicious presence. From my research, it seems that the old house has finally been pulled down in favor of condos. However, the ghostly presence, the trauma of the family left behind, is apparently still rife in folklore. Coming into number 6, we have El Cucuy. Am I saying this right, Texas? Let me know, cause I'm just a humble British gal who has no idea really. So these urban legends come around so much, I honestly feel like in every country and within that a lot of provinces and states have their own version. El Cucuy is a Texan bogeyman, but worse apparently. Now the legend describes the beast as male, small, humanoid with glowing red eyes. El Cucuy hides in closets and under beds and comes for naughty children in the night. While this does seem like your classic boogeyman stuff, it seems that there have been some reported sightings of El Cucuy over the years. Now this leads me to think that actually maybe there is something more to this urban legend after all. Coming into number 5, we have the Hitchhiker of White Rock. This legend comes from White Rock Lake in northeast Dallas, where reportedly a 20-year-old girl committed suicide in the lake in the 1930s. Nobody knows why she took her own life, although many suspect it was as a result of heartache. It's always heartache, isn't it? To this day, people report seeing a woman standing by the lake in a wet dress. She stops cars that drive by and asks for a ride. Now, if you refuse her, an accident will likely befall you, but if you say yes, she will vanish in the back of your car, leaving just a puddle. Coming into number 4, we have the South Texas Headless Horseman. During Halloween in San Patricio, you could enjoy a haunted hayride as you hear the ghostly legends of the Headless Horseman. It seems that in the 1800s, a wealthy man from Kentucky came to Texas to make his fortune. He was buying up land and his last stop was the town of San Patricio. Unfortunately for him, his wagon was looted and he lost both his gold and his head to thieves. To this day, his headless body is said to ride the stretch from Matthias to San Patricio. Coming into number 3, we have Demon's Road. It just isn't an urban legend video without a spooky haunted road, is it? No. It's not. In Huntsville, Texas, there is a stretch of road called Bowden Road, although locals will tell you that it's called Demon's Road. Why? Well, because of the demonic things that have reportedly happened along it. Oh, and there's a cemetery at the end of the road, which doesn't really help matters. A whole bunch of Huntsville residents have had weird experiences along the road or seen strange things, but this isn't just your average haunted road. It seems that oftentimes spectres will follow people home. One popular story associated with Demon's Road is that a woman was visiting the cemetery at the end of the road when she saw a man lurking. Now, the man was acting a bit weirdly, he was pacing up and down, but she didn't pay him much attention. After that, as she was journeying home, she thought she saw the same man walking on the road, but once again, she just ignored it. When she got home, however, she thought she saw the same man staring at her from her bathroom mirror while she was in the shower. She screamed, he disappeared, and she never saw him again. Creepy. Coming into number 2, we have the killer nurse ghost. Deep within the halls of Bexar County Hospital, still a fully functioning hospital in San Antonio, Texas, there is said to be a malicious spirit who kills patients at night. I had no idea that ghosts could actually kill, and I'm not happy about this turn of events. The legend goes that the nurse wanders the halls at night and kills patients in their room in consecutive room number order. Patients who were seemingly getting better would simply drop down dead, but before they died, they would report speaking to a particular nurse, although none of the ward staff knew who that was. When CCTV footage was checked, it seems that all the patients who died were seen to be talking to thin air. It is likely that this urban legend is inspired by the real-life killer nurse, Janine Jones, a serial killer nurse at the Bexar County Hospital, who did actually use lethal drug cocktails to murder 60 children. Finally, coming into number 1, we have La Lorna. Part banshee, part horse, La Lorna is a famous female spirit that haunts El Paso. She roams the banks of Rio Grande, causing havoc. It is said that she killed herself and her children down by the river because she was jilted by her ex-lover, who didn't want to marry her because he simply couldn't accept her kids. What a nasty man. Heartbroken and crazed, obviously killing your kids and yourself would be an emotional ordeal, and it seems that that emotion has carried on through into the afterlife. She's now heard wailing by the river. When she has been spotted, she is seen with the head of a horse and the body of a human. What's going on there? Honestly, I don't know. In the area, people are warned from going down to the river late at night, as La Lorna will force you to keep her company, whatever that means. In 2019, New Line Cinema are set to release a Hollywood adaptation of this called The Curse of La Lorna, so that's pretty exciting. A Hollywood movie made out of Texas urban legends. Great! Coming in at number 10, we have the spirits of the Spaghetti Warehouse. At 901 Commerce in downtown Houston, there is a restaurant called the Spaghetti Warehouse. However, Italian food isn't the only thing on the menu. That's right, it seems that actually maybe your pasta may come served with a side of spooks. Back in the day, the Spaghetti Warehouse used to be a pharmacy, and legend has it that one day a pharmacist fell down an elevator shaft and died, which actually is so grim if you think about it. It seems it isn't the ghost of the pharmacist himself that haunts the building, but his wife, who died exactly a year later of heartbreak, which makes me feel really sad. It seems like the building may also be haunted by cheeky children. A waitress called Patty Chapper claimed that child spirits tied her shoelaces together. She's seen them regularly. There is an urn cabinet on the second floor of the building, and it seems that the children's spirits are most drawn to this spot in the building. Here their voices can be heard, as well as their giggles. It seems like the restaurant actually doesn't like the attention it's attracted with the ghostly urban legends. People are sick of patrons coming in and asking where to sit where it's haunted. They would rather the ghost just went away. Coming in at number 9, we have the Chupacabra. Ah, the legend of the Chupacabra. This one isn't constricted to Texas alone. The Chupacabra story first sprang up in Puerto Rico. It is said to be a blood-sucking monster from the deep that attacks animals and drinks the blood of livestock, especially goats, which is why the creature's name translates to goat sucker in Spanish. Anyway, in Texas, reports of the Chupacabra were rife in the year 2007 when a woman named Phyllis Canyon reported seeing one of the blood-sucking monsters at her ranch in South Texas. She also reportedly found a number of chickens with their throats torn open. This sparked a whole Chupacabra panic, and the legend of the beast was firmly consolidated in the Lone Star state law. Coming into number 8, we have the Chinese cemetery. There is a strange urban legend surrounding a 7-foot-tall ghost and her lover at the Lona China Cemetery in Texas. This isn't just your classic ghost haunting in a graveyard, except actually I guess it is, only there's a freakishly tall ghost. The story goes that a man wanted to run away with his lover of Chinese descent, but he was forbade by his great-grandfather, who owned the cemetery. The issue here was an issue of race. The man was Anglo-Hispanic, but his granddie didn't want him mixing. I bet that old racist isn't pleased that the cemetery is now called the Chinese cemetery. Hey. Anyway, both the ghost of the tall woman and the man are said to roam the cemetery at night looking for one another, but sadly they never quite meet, which is pretty depressing. Apparently the female has been known to reach out and touch you, thinking that you might be the lost love. Sends shivers up my spine. Ooh. Coming into number 7, we have the legend of the Owl Witches. It seems that this urban legend isn't specifically attributed to just people of Houston, but instead the wider populace of Texas. Nonetheless, there have been some lechuza sightings in Houston. A lechuza is, according to legend, a shape-shifting witch who flies through the night hunting for prey. In flight, these witches look like owls, but when they're stopped, they have bird bodies but human faces, so I guess kinda like harpies? The women seem to be hybrid monsters, as in their human lives, they were said to have sold their souls to the devil, who gave them intense magical powers in exchange for their souls. A classic exchange. So how do you know you are in the presence of one of these owl witches? They'll let you know by a series of whistling and baby noises. Those who try and investigate what the noises are will likely become dinner for the owly she-witches. The stories of owl witches are most prevalent amongst Spanish speakers in Houston. Have you ever seen an owl witch? Let me know. Coming into number 6, we have the seances of La Carafe. It is said that La Carafe, one of the oldest bars in Houston built in 1866, conducts regular seances to contact the dead. The things that have gone on at 813 Congress Avenue, Houston are said to be enough to scare even the most hardy of drinkers. It seems that the building is haunted by the ghost of an escort called Pamelia Mann. Now she is said to get jealous of attractive females and shows them by giving them a shove down the stairs. I'm like, baby, chill. A figure has also been spotted waving from a 5th story window. Staff who work there have also reported bottles flying off shelves and other strange ethereal sounds. Either way, I have to say, the carafe looks really old and beautiful inside, but definitely a little bit spooky. Coming into number 5, we have the Rip in Time. Battleship Texas is located near the San Jacinto Monument, but it has a rich history as one of the US Navy's fleet of fighting vessels, and during its heyday, it had the largest guns of any ship in the world. Blimey. While the ship is a treasured piece of LaPorte City pride, there are whisperings in the city that there is something much more mystical going on board. While there have been reports of a red-headed sailor who haunts Deck 2, that is just small chat compared to the rumour that the trophy room has a strange rip in time and space. A caretaker claimed that she walked through a door in the trophy room only to find herself in a cemetery in France. According to Legend Chat, this is legit, but who knows? Either way, it's pretty freaky. Some more seafaring drama at number 4, we have Pirate Jean Lafitte. Legend has it that Pirate Jean Lafitte's ship shows up in the waters of Houston, sailing between New Orleans and Galveston and often up Burnett Bay. Jean Lafitte may have been a pirate, but he helped defend the states against the British in 1815 in the Battle of New Orleans. His pirate ship famously went missing as he tried to capture Spanish vessels. His life and death are hot topics of discussion, and the mystery surrounding him makes him the perfect topic for urban legends. Some claim to have found his lost shipwreck, others claim they see him on the shores searching for treasure, and others have spotted the ghost ship in the distance as it sails its old route. I love a good ghost ship, yes. Coming into number 3, we have the sad legend of the killing fields. Since 1970, more than 30 women have disappeared, with their bodies found dumped somewhere between Houston and Galveston on the I-45. A pretty desolate 50-mile stretch of road which has been dubbed the Killing Fields as a result of the murders. The ages of the victims range between children who are 12 and women in their late 30s, but the majority have been female teenagers. To this day, the murders remain unresolved, with pretty legit suggestions that there might still be a serial killer on the loose. The Hellish Highway formed the basis of a CBS 48-hour mystery documentary and a 2011 crime movie starring Chloe Grace Moretz and Jessica Chastain. An old favourite at number 2, we have Beyonce and the Illuminati. Beyonce is from Houston and is proud. The star regularly makes trips back to her home city. Most recently, she was spotted with her husband Jay-Z at a Houston Rockets game in a moon symbol jumpsuit. What could this mean? Illuminati conspiracy theories have been constant for the star, with many claiming her 2008 hit Single Ladies can be played backwards to hear a secret message. Also, a lot of people think her 2013 Super Bowl performance where she delivered her triangle hand symbol was a nod to the Illuminati. Further rumours were fueled at the 59th Grammy Awards held in Houston, where Beyonce gave an incredible performance while pregnant with twins, like a seriously incredible performance. Many thought though that the performance's religious symbolism was yet another nod to the Illuminati. Queen Bey also referenced the quote-unquote Illuminati mess in her 2016 album Lemonade. I love Beyonce, cult or no cult, just saying. Finally, coming into number 1, an enduring legend in Houston, we have the Houston Horror. Horror. The Houston Horror is a strange story that spans over 40 years and involves the curious raising of a woman's house. In 1953, a 23-year-old housewife named Hilda Walker was sitting out on her porch with her neighbours when they all saw something odd and alarming. Mrs. Walker said she looked up over the lawn and saw the shadow of a huge moth. She claimed that her and her neighbours saw something massive flying into a pecan tree. Her and her neighbours thought that the monster was around 6.5 feet tall. Now 14-year-old Judy Mayer, who was also sat on the porch, screamed in fear and got a square-on look in the face of the monster. Now he was described as being man-like but with wings, huge with a strange yellow haze, perhaps even a halo. The incident was reported in local news outlets and caused a frenzy at the time, but nonetheless the story blew over. Weirdly, Mrs. Walker's house was raised a few years later to make way for part of the interstate, which had a lot of people claiming government conspiracy. Fast forward 40 years and a similar creature was spotted again by a Bel Air theatre worker. So is this Houston's very own Mothman, or is it the same Mothman that was spotted in Ohio and West Virginia? Did he fly on down and stop in Houston before disappearing never to be seen?